Hi friends, cute little project today from me using some really lovely Craft Addiction UK goodies. So we've got a digi here called Furball, and this is the Slatted Stars collection. So we've got outside shapes to cut out here. I'm going to use one of those, and then we've got stitched pieces as well, and then the slatted sections as well. It really is a fabulous collection at a great price. Okay, so what I'm going to do here then is I'm taking one of the outside cutting edges and just sitting that over my digi. Okay, so I've got a couple of little areas that are outside of that die. I'm just going to secure that down there briefly, and then just lightly with a pencil I'm going to draw around the edges of the star. Here we go. So not drawing through Furball's little feet there, just sort of around those. I'm going to take the die away for the time being. Let's cut a larger area first of all. How cute is he? Okay, here we go. So on the little areas that are just sort of jutting out from the die cut, you'll see I'm just going to cut around those and into the image a little bit. Okay, I'm not going to cut anything away from here. There's going to be no bits cut off. I'm just cutting into and around those little areas. There we go. So just into little pause there, and then we're going to go up on a standy up here, and again we're just going to cut around but not cut anything away. Okay, so nice and straightforward. Then we're going to bring the die back in again, and we're going to reposition that with those little areas above the cutting line. Okay, let's have a little look. Let's see if I've cut far enough in that those areas will sit over the top. Okay, so I'm thinking we just need to cut just a little bit further up along the line of the image. Here we go. So just tuck the die behind the little sticky out parts, and then we're just going to straighten that up to line up with my pencil line. Stick that down now, and I'm ready to die cut. Okay, so here we go. So we can just pull those pieces away now, and there we go. So you'll see those little bits sticking out. Now I'm leaving this in the die for the moment, and I'm taking an ink brush there, so I don't need to add any more ink. I just want this nice and pale, so I've got enough ink already on the brush, and I'm just going to brush around there, just around the edges. And what this will do, leaving the die in position, is it will leave it sort of just white right on the edges, so we'll get this nice little white border, and then this very soft pink to tie in with my colourway. There we go. Okay, so that is partial die cutting, my friends. Okay, so I've gone ahead here and done some more cutting. So here I've used a larger star here, and I've cut out the shape and the stitching. And again here, the next size down, I've done all three of the dies for this one. So I've got the outside shape, the stitching, and the slatted star as well. So the same outside shape here I've used to cut a nice bright pink to go behind the slatted star. And then of course there are lots and lots of different size stars here in the set as well. So I've just kind of randomly cut a selection of those. So just sticking this down now. So we're going to stick fur ball onto his background piece. And you'll see that pink is just really nice and subtle, just what I wanted. There we go. And then we can get the slatted star onto the bright pink background. Really effortless. I'm absolutely loving these cutting dies. Okay, so we've got our selection here ready now. So I'm going to take a carte blanche. So I've gone with Craft. Craft and pink is one of my favourite combos here. And what I've done is I've taken just a tiny little sentiment there. And I have just sort of slotted a couple of the really small stars into the slatted star, and I'm just sort of having a little play with the composition. What do I want and where do I want it? Okay, once I'm happy then, I'm going to just stick this down. Here we go. So the first version of this card actually had a piece of vellum in the background, and there was more stars, and actually in the end I thought it was just kind of a little bit too much, so I've simplified this, kind of deconstructed the card, and I like this one a little bit better. Here we go. So this one I'm going to raise on pad, so it's at an angle there so that my little sentiment is straight, and then just going to stick some stars down. Okay, so nice and easy. And then once I've done this, I think it would be quite nice to add a couple of little white details onto the stars, and then maybe a tiny little bit of sparkle. So here I've got a clear sparkle pen, so this one is Spectrum Noir. There's also, I quite like the Wink of Stella clear, and they just add a lovely shimmer rather than sort of coarse glitter. I'm not a huge glitter fan, to be honest, but I do like a little bit of sparkle. So this goes on really nicely, and once this dries, then we can really see a nice sparkle on here. Okay, haven't stuck that star down, always one. There we go. Let's pop that in position. Here we go. So we'll just give that a minute to dry now, and then we'll take a little look. Let's see if we can see the sparkle. As I say, it doesn't show up very well on camera, but it is quite sparkly. So I hope that you like that project. We've got a little bit of decoration inside, again with fur ball there, and that project's done. Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for joining me, and I hope to see you again.